Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Terra podcast. Anthony Marsh on Power Rangers Lost in Galaxy fan film with episode 351, presented by my Morphin Megaverse Power Rangers Facebook group. 12 years ago, right exactly around this time, long before I was ever on this channel, and with my 10th anniversary of this channel fast approaching, considering this video dated, back in 2010, when I was becoming somewhat in a resurgence in the Power Rangers fan base, but was now coming about and coming to be, I once, long time ago, surfing randomly on YouTube at 18 years of age, looking at some Power Ranger parody videos. Among one of those parody videos, I watched Smosh's first parody about Power Rangers. If you don't know who Smosh was a YouTube channel ran by two guys named Ian and Anthony. And in that very first Power Rangers parody video I saw on YouTube back in 2010, I saw their parody video about Power Rangers where Ian and Anthony both had a Red Ranger costume. And in that parody video, they came across a neighbor who was bullying a little kid wearing a penguin costume. And in the exact video, Ian and Anthony would morph into the Red Ranger, muscle suit wise, if you will. And those two basically were trying to stop this guy. And they got those red Power Ranger suits from the mail by the mailman. And in that exact parody video, that mailman was wearing a Pink Ranger costume. And I didn't know what to think of it, and thus that's why I never really cared for Smosh and their parody videos. But though it was a long time ago, it was like ages ago. This was 12 years ago. Although the video probably came out a year before I even knew of the video's very existence, because this was back in 2010 when I was having this major resurgence of Power Rangers following Saban's comeback with the franchise after Disney ended their tenure with the franchise and the Mighty Morphin Reversion had finished airing. So for the rest of 2010, at the time I was working on Power Rangers Lost in Galaxy, The Rise of Shrekina, that's when I discovered that said video. But what does that Smosh parody video from 2009, 2010-ish has anything to do with this topic of Power Rangers that I'm about to discuss today on the podcast? Well, it turns out that looking at Super Sentai and Power Rangers both respectively in comics or Sentai in general, that in the more recent Super Sentai, fast forward 12 years later with Avataro Sentai Dawn Brothers, and then even a little earlier for us for Power Rangers with the 1969 issue of Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic, that we've had our now exposure canonically for both Super Sentai and Power Rangers to have male Pink Rangers. You know, this begged the question, because again, thinking back to that Smosh parody of Power Rangers, where they had the mailman, the actor playing the mailman in that skit wearing a pink Power Ranger costume, that I never really thought that they would actually have men be the Pink Ranger, because this is like the first instance for Sentai. Well, actually, if you go way back 11 years earlier in Gokaiger. In one episode of Gokaiger, although I haven't watched that entire Sentai, but when I get around one of the following episodes where Captain Marvelous or whoever, Captain Marvelous, Joe, and Dawn had the Pink Ranger keys, while Luca and Ahim would have Pink Ranger keys as well, when the entire Gokaiger team would do a legendary Gokai change of all the Pink Rangers of Sentai, including 3 that have been adapted into Power Rangers. And turns out that when I see the Pink Rangers, when I see all of the entire Gokaiger team be all the past Pink Rangers of Sentai, although one in particular being our first beloved Pink Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, that, aka Terra Ranger from Jew Ranger, that I would never really think that I would actually see any of the men of Gokaiger do legendary ranger changes of any of the Pink Rangers from Super Sentai, and as well as Sentai Pink Rangers adapted into Power Rangers, which was a rare oddity and instance to me, which I did not know of before because, again, I didn't watch Gokaiger. But then when Boom Studios, fast forward 5 years, 6 years or so later, but on the Power Ranger side of things, you fast forward to, you know, Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Ranger series, the main Mighty Morphin comic of Power Rangers, that they actually had the audacity to have the Pink Ranger in the Boom Studio continuity and all of the Power Rangers franchise to have our first male Pink Ranger. You know, but though that Pink Ranger of the 1969 Mighty Morphin team is deceased. Although, again, spoiler for those who haven't read the comic, but I know I haven't read that comic. But I do know for a fact that the Pink Ranger from that 1969 Mighty Morphin team existed, but only to die at the hands of Psycho Green in that comic. But, and then even in Sentai, also not just Gokaiger or the more recent Dawn Brothers Sentai. If you think back to Resha Sentai Tokyuger, we've had instances where any of the male Rangers for that, especially Right, you know, Toku 1 Red, taking Kakura's Toku 5 Pink's Resha. So when, you know, given the color swap gimmick that the Tokyugers did back in that comic, and thinking back to that Sentai, Tokyuger, they did do color swaps where, like, let's say Toku 1 would be Toku 5's color, or Toku, Tokyu 2 being, you know, taking Toku 5's color. You know what I mean? In that sort of way. But we've had some instances where they would have Pink Rangers, you know, have, if you know what I mean, right? Because I never really thought about this, about the gimmick having now we finally going to do genderfied, diversifying the gender of who's wearing what colors of Pink Rangers. And to the fact that, you know, the Pink Ranger, specifically in all of Super Sentai and Power Rangers, Pink Rangers are usually female, especially those with skirts. But when you have a man wear a Pink Ranger, it's like screamed as, oh, is this guy trying to be gay or what? But again, there have been some instances in fiction, not just in Power Rangers or Super Sentai, where I have seen men wear pink in some media. Like, for instance, for someone who was once a fan of pro wrestling, you know, what particular pro wrestler back in WWE had wore pink back in his tenure as a wrestler? Bret the Hitman Hart. That comes to mind with a pro athlete wearing pink to his outfit. But there have been a few male characters wearing some pink to them. And, you know, even like, again, Patrick Star of SpongeBob SquarePants, he's colored pink. I'm trying to think of some other male characters that have pink to their color scheme. And even as well as, like I said, a pro wrestler like Bret the Hitman Hart from WWE, he wore pink. Then you also had Patrick Star, SpongeBob's friend from SpongeBob SquarePants. He was pink. But it's like in media, anytime we see a male character wear anything pink, it's being decried as, are they gay or what? Why are they wearing pink? Shouldn't be pink more of a more feminine color? You know, that sort of thing, and decrying about men should not wear pink, and like real men should not wear pink. But hey, somewhere in my closet, I only have one piece of pink colored clothing, and it's a Susan G. Komen breast cancer awareness, you know, type shirt that I wore at a contest back in 2015. But that shirt probably smells like old 8-year-old storage boxes by now at this point. So it's like, what's wrong that we can't have Pink Rangers to be men in Super Sentai, but Power Rangers took a very long time to give us our first male Pink Ranger. But if Dawn Brothers, well, again, given what Hasbro says after Dino Fury and whatever the future may bring for Power Rangers, starting with our upcoming 30th anniversary series, that if they ever do give us our first male Pink Ranger, in Power Rangers in the show, but although we may have had our first male pink in the Boom Studio Comics universe of Power Rangers, then maybe we can probably get our hands on a male Pink Ranger in the series. Although we've had our first Purple Ranger, so why not, you know, out of RJ from Jungle Fury, so why not we can get our first male Pink Ranger in the TV series via the Sentai counterpart of a future would-be Sentai counterpart, Power Rangers counterpart from Dawn Brothers from Sentai. But we know in the fact that back when we had Super Mega Force, you know, again, Gokaiger, now the reason why Super Mega Force did not do that legendary Pink Ranger change as featured in the thumbnail, you know, featured on this video as an image to illustrate my point, is that, well, if they ever did do a legendary Pink Ranger change, but though, again, using footage, you know, using in the exact footage where the Pink Rangers in between are mostly like Sentai only Pink Rangers, it just would not work. Although two of them have already now become canonicalized as Power Ranger, you know, being canonical to Power Rangers, knowing that those following Sentais like Prism and Flash have now become, you know, based on Five-Man and Flashman respectively, have now become Power Rangers. And I know for an instance, like we can't, it's like as if we can't have Pink Rangers being men, like why can't we? It's like as if we should not have Pink Rangers be men, but we know that pink will always be a more predominantly feminine color. But, you know, when I think about it, and even think back with the stunt teams back in the original Saban era of Power Rangers, even though the Pink and Yellow Ranger characters for, you know, from Power Ranger Zeo through Time Force, Wild Force or so, although actually take that back, Wild Force was white, but although she had essence of pink, but she's all white. But when you think back to a lot of the, when I think back to the Saban era of Power Rangers and thinking back to, like, you know, how you think about in the American footages for Power Rangers Zeo through Time Force, but even though including Catherine as the Pink Mighty Morphin Ranger for a brief instance as Mighty Morphin Pink, where she basically had a stunt, you know, suit actor in the Mighty Morphin Pink suit that was actually a man. But back when Sophia Crawford, I believe, who was the suit actress for the Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger back when Kimberly was still the Pink Ranger, she was predominantly female. But when the suit actor was changed from a male to female, that's when we started seeing, okay, well, I started seeing a stature of the fact that, well, while the Pink Ranger is still a female, the suit actor, I had no idea was actually a man underneath that suit with faux pas, fake breasts, or tissue paper to look like breasts while wearing the Pink Ranger's costume. And I don't understand what was up with that, and, you know, that's what really got to my attention now as an adult. I did not notice that as a kid watching Power Rangers back during the original Saban days, but during that point post season 3 and Alien Rangers, but once you go into, you know, Power Rangers Zeo and then Turbo, In Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, and Time Force, I've noticed that in most shots for like the more stunt choreography shots, for the fight scenes when the Rangers are fighting foot soldiers in American footage, that I've noticed that in some shots the Pink Ranger would be the suit actor is a man, and sometimes it's a woman, but it's always mostly a man, because I didn't know that the movements of, you know, with stuntmen trying to pretend to be women, and which feels a little awkward and weird. Even some of the actresses that have played the Pink Ranger have found it strange and like, oh, didn't know that the suit actor for my character was actually a man wearing a pink colored costume or a yellow costume with a skirt on. But if you get across the point I'm trying to say, because, like, you know, like, as if, like, okay, you know, it's okay for some men if they're flamboyantly or LGBT to wear pink. But if you're heterosexual and, like, you know, I can't say otherwise. I don't know if this video will get some dislikes for what I'm saying for this. But I know that for a fact that, you know, men who wear pink, you know, some would say, but again, that was given the social consciousness of, like, if any men who wear pink is, like, you know, gay or something. But again, I've seen some guys close to me in public that wore pink from here and there from time to time, but mostly I usually wear like blacks or greens or reds or yellow. You know, I've been wearing yellow, even though I pretty much stayed away from wearing yellow colored clothing for a long time, despite the fact I used to wear yellow colored clothing for a Power Rangers fan film. Until my dad got on my butt about that years ago, about me wearing something pink when I should not be wearing pink, because pink, you know, no, not pink, sorry, yellow, because yellow is usually, especially from the context of Power Rangers, yellow has always been more of a girl's color in Power, you know, except for Sentai, you know, for Power Ranger shows where the Yellow Ranger is really a man. Like, again, like I said back in my AJ Weems video when regarding my fan film content, you know, years back. So I don't even understand why is it that we can't have a man be a Pink Ranger. At least, well, that depends on, it doesn't matter in terms of his race or sexual orientation or whatever the case is, but as long as he's still the Ranger, he's still the Ranger. It doesn't matter. But again, back in 2010, when I started being in the Power Rangers fandom, trying to be a Yellow Ranger, again, for a fan project, that was, you know, again, I was very young and stupid and didn't know no better, and realizing that, you know, but thinking back to the yellow male Rangers that we had at the time, like Dustin and Chip and the A Squad Yellow Ranger and Tidius, that was part of the question. But post the point after my dad's death and all that, and after I had shade away from that fan film, okay, it's acceptable to have the man, you know, have a man as a Yellow Ranger. I dig it. But in Power Rangers, but even though, again, Yellow Rangers, like I said back, if you go back to my fan film content about my OC AJ Weems character video for the Morphin Grid videos, it was a commonplace, because knowing the fact Yellow Rangers have always been female in Power Rangers, but Pink Rangers have always been female. But it was kind of time, thanks to the Boom Studio Comics, to canonically finally give us our first male Pink Ranger out of that what is Daniel, I forgot his name, the Pink Ranger from the 1969 Mighty Morphin team. And then you even have Kiji Brother from Dawn Brothers be our first real Pink Ranger in Super Sentai, even though all the Gokai changes of the Pink Rangers there do not count, but it was ancillary. I mind it. And even like with, again, right back in Tokyuger, where he would take Kagura, or even the other two, I forgot the green and blue Rangers names from Tokyuger, because it's been a long time since I saw that Sentai. And like and whenever they would swap from their regular Ranger colors to the Pink or Yellow Rangers colors, since they're more feminine as designated, you know, I can see them like do Pink Rangers, you know, being men. But though they would say, oh, you're gay, why would you wear a pink color clothing? You know, if you're a man wearing pink, you are gay. And honestly, well, to be honest though, well, again, but it's acceptable for someone like, now, how come, if we can have a fictional Nickelodeon cartoon character like Patrick, or a legendary WWE Hall of Famer like Bret the Hitman Hart wears something pink with some black accents to his wrestling gear, so what's wrong we can't have a Power Ranger or a Super Sentai Pink Ranger be a man? So what's up with that? Oh, and here's another example. And I know it's an unhindered example from a very short-lived TV show everybody pretty much forgotten about more than 15 years ago. Even when I think back to actor Steve Rananazzi, the guy from The League, in that short-lived TV show called Big Day, his character of Scobo was wearing a pink t-shirt with a white tank top. And I was like, well, it made me think, because, you know, knowing the fact, speaking of Big Day, Crackle was streaming all 13 episodes of that short-lived show that I was obsessively trying to binge watch all at once back when I was a teenager, but of course school nights and all that. But I caught up to that show now last year, 15 years after the show had aired, but later canceled after one season due to some controversies and stuff and bad air dates and stuff in 2006. And thinking back to how Steve Rananazzi's Scobo character from that short-lived show Big Day, and thinking about how his character was wearing a pink shirt with buttons, but also had a white tank top and black cargo pants on. And thinking, man, his character must be gay. given the fact he's wearing pink. So I don't know, with that social, the social notion that if any man wearing pink, they have to be gay. No, it doesn't have to be that. I mean, some guys who are heterosexual like me can wear pink from time to time, but that doesn't mean I'm gay or any of that stuff. But as long as a man is wearing a color that's mostly designated for a pink and yellow ranger, who is most predominantly female in Power Rangers and on occasionally Super Sentai, then we can deal with that. So I don't see what's the big deal. We can't have male pink rangers. And, you know, I'm surprised and happy that Dawn Brothers decided to give the Pink Ranger a man, you know, make the man a Pink Ranger, even though that character is really CGI. Sometimes live action, non-CG, but for the more CG shots of Kiji Brother. Although I have not watched Dawn Brothers at this time, but I will get around Dawn Brothers when I catch up on all of modern Super Sentai, starting with Shinkenger. Or mostly, you know, Goseiger, Gokaiger, and Gokaiger. And although I've already watched Q Ranger, like I mentioned back 2 episodes ago. But I really feel like maybe the standard should be that Super Sentai, if they keep this up with Kiji Brothers' track record of being our first male Pink Ranger in Super Sentai, mostly. Again, the Gokai changes of all the Pink Rangers featured in that one Gokaiger episode featured in my podcast to demonstrate and illustrate my point does not count. Or the Pink Ranger from the 1969 Mighty Morphin team doesn't count. Or like I mentioned about, like, again, that Smosh Power Rangers parody from 2010 where the mailman was wearing a pink Mighty Morphin Power Ranger costume. Haha, you know. I knew then and there that Smosh parody foreshadowed it in a way for Power Rangers having a guy in the Pink Ranger costume. And heck, even thinking back to Robot Chicken, like there was that one Robot Chicken Power Rangers sort of esque reference in a Halloween parody where some boy was wearing a pink Mighty Morphin Power Rangers costume for Halloween, and a bunch of guys who were all macho and, you know, toxic masculine were all about were bullying the dude for wearing a pink Power Ranger costume for Halloween, and he got bullied for it. You know what I mean? And, you know, given, you know, it's time we cut that stigma and notion that if guys want to wear a pink Power Ranger costume, well, then again, go for it. Heck, I know for a fact that I had a Facebook friend of 8 years until I disbanded our friendship after 8 years. His favorite Power Ranger has always been the Pink Ranger, the Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger. And I was like, well, must wonder. I didn't know you were always about the Pink Ranger. Wish that you were always wanting to be a Pink Ranger. But then again, you know, pink was always his color secretly, and I did not know that he was into the Pink Ranger and wishing he was pink. So what's wrong that guys can't be the Pink Ranger? We know that women have always been Pink Rangers in Power Rangers and Super Sentai, so I think it was time that we broke the mold in Sentai and Power Rangers to finally give us a male Pink Ranger. You know, this is just a little small ramble and nip of the bud for a filler episode of my podcast. I just hope you guys understand what just rambling on. So what do you guys feel about the notion that, you know, like, should we have more male Pink Rangers in Sentai and Power Rangers, or pink should just stay female because female, you know, pink is more of a rather more feminine color. It fits more women as opposed to men, but, you know, it doesn't matter if the male Pink Ranger should be gay or straight, as long as he's still wearing the color. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments.